So let's talk a little bit about the journey, man, about your journey kind of into the financial industry, and how you kind of found that way. So you said around 16, you realized that, hey, look, I'm not going to school. I'm not taking this conventional path, so to speak, or maybe non-conventional path. That would be a big accomplishment for people who weren't striving to get to where I'm going. What was the steps? What did you do to take me back, like the latter teenage years up to being introduced into this business?
Damn. How do I make it fit all in one podcast? Yeah, let me hit the highlights. Well, going back to what I said, right? I always wanted to be rich. And by the way, I didn't understand the difference between rich and wealthy, and even like the difference between financial freedom and then time freedom. And that's not anything that my brain was even thinking of. But I just knew that I'm a very lazy person naturally. I'm a procrastinator. I want things done for me, and I like to feel special. So it's like, well, it sounds like all of that needs money. Somehow in there, we need to have a lot of money. And because I'm lazy and a procrastinator, I was looking for something that made me a lot of money fast, but that was legal, right? Because my dad had gone to prison.
That's key word.
I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, I'm like, I need something legit. But school was a for sure path, but it was too long. Like, I just like, and then I didn't really know what made me, like, there was a job to me, and nowhere in that job that would I be able to do what I want when I want. So like there was no path for me in the school space. So honestly, bro, I was lost, dude. Like, my dad had moved back to Mexico in 2007. My dad moved back again for the same reason. He couldn't move up in careers, and he felt like a loser, like he couldn't do much. And my dad's a smart guy, again, super lazy, just like me, doesn't like to do anything. But he doesn't follow through on most of the things that he says he's going to do, which is why I always say my word is my bond. If I say I'm going to do something, I don't want to be like my dad, so I do it, right? So putting all that stuff into the mix, when I turned 17, I said, I don't want to live here in Utah anymore. It was a culture shock. I was probably like 1 out of 3 Mexicans in my whole school. Everybody else was Caucasian. And we moved down here to Utah because my dad didn't want to be in LA. Because in LA, they were having all this ICE people come into your workspace, and literally, bro, they would grab you and take you to Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah, like, that's a real thing. And so there's 18 million people in LA. So where are you going to find the most immigrants? It's like catching fish with a net, right? You go to a job, go to a warehouse, probably 50% of them are undocumented. So, if you need to hit some quotas, boom, there you go. Just pick a warehouse.
Man, listen, I don't need to like hop in, but I think this is really fascinating to hear, because, you hear about these stories like on the news and such, but to like hear from somebody who has family, like kind of experiencing this, I mean, it's really kind of blowing me away. Okay. All right. So
you're good. And keep in mind, I thought this was normal because I grew up in LA. So most of my friends kind of grew up the same way. As a matter of fact, and I'm not trying to go into tangents, but there's so much that, kind of got me to where I'm at. Being at like in my early 20s, I started realizing that a lot of my friends after high school moved back to Mexico. And I thought it was just like a career choice. But no, bro, they had the same issue. They were tired of being in the States without papers. And then when they try to graduate or they try to apply for college, they couldn't because DACA probably wasn't like set there yet. I mean, DACA didn't come in, I think, till like 2008. Don't quote me on that. I don't never really looked into it, but just kind of going through my life experience and my friends that I grew up with. Yeah, they left. Like, some of them left a year before high school. I think they didn't find out that they weren't born in the States until like 17, 18, and they realized that they didn't have a social, or even some when they started getting a driver's license, right? Like, California wasn't giving out driver's licenses, which is why we ended up moving to Utah, because my dad couldn't get a driver's license over there. So when he came down to Utah to get his license, he realized that homes were cheap. It was a very like low-key place. There was a lot of farmland. It was growing, a lot of job opportunity. And as a matter of fact, I just read a stat that I think Utah and Iowa I know for sure Utah has the lowest unemployment rate in the whole country. And so it's been booming. Utah's been booming since like 2005. So that's why we moved here. But my dad ended up not being able to move up. And so he decides to leave. I'm over here by myself. You know, my dad's like not really being a dad. I don't know. I'm trying to become a man. I don't really know what that means. My mom is a workhorse, so she's keeping the whole household together. My brother's 3, my sister's 1, and then my dad leaves back to Mexico. And then so I just decided to drop out of high school. I lied to my mom that I had graduated early because I remember like my parents embedded good grades, college. I thought I was gonna go to UCLA. Like I wanted to go to the best schools because that's what I was told that I wanted. Okay, so from like 2nd grade, I remember that's when I got into an honors program. And then by 3rd grade, I got into a gifted. So in California, you have regular, honors, and gifted. So I think honors is based on grades, and then gifted is based on IQ. So I don't think they have that program in Utah, but they do in California. And so I got into that program, and from like 3rd grade all the way to like right before I moved when I moved to Utah, like I was in gifted classes. So my parents never helped me with like homework, signing up for classes, like nothing, bro. They just said, give me your grades, boom, A. They had participation and attendance. So it was AEE, 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 A, and E was like for excellent. So that was like for years and years. Like, I mean, if your kid's showing up like every semester with A's, you don't even question your kid. Yeah. So I took that, I took advantage of that. So I told my mom, hey, mom, I'm going to graduate early, but I really dropped out of high school, forged my parents' signature. Wow. I went to a school called the DATC. I took my GED. So I had like honors and gifted classes, or in high school, I think it's called AP classes, advanced placement. So I was taking AP classes and literally went from A's to the next day. I just dropped out, found out how to join the DATC. I joined the DATC. I took my my GED test. And that same day, I went home, packed my bags. My mom showed up from work, and I said, hey, mom, I'm moving to LA. I was 17 years old. So I grabbed my bags, and I moved in with my aunt, so my mom's sister. She didn't know I was moving in, but she messed up because when I was 13, she told me, hey, when you're getting ready to go to school, I'll pay for your school. As long as you get good grades, you can move in with me. I don't remember promises. I mean, I don't forget promises. So don't tell me you're going to do something and then not do it, because I'm going to call you out. I've always been like that, bro. Some people like it. Some people don't. And that's why some people love me and a lot of people hate me, because most people don't keep promises. So my aunt felt, I guess, obligated. I was already there. I'm sure my mom called her like as I was going halfway, across the country, a 10-hour drive to LA. And I got there and I'm like, hey, I'm here. She's like, all right, you know the rules. Sign up for college. I'll pay for all the bills. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll cover the tuition. So that whole semester, I realized I didn't want to go to school. So I met this dude that was a neighbor of mine that was 19 years old, and he was making $120,000 a year. This was back in 2009. So it's about $300,000 a year. Now, here's the thing. He was living with his parents. So all that money was his.
Yeah.
His parents were paying the food, bills, everything. All that money was going to girls and cars. Okay.
What's he driving at 19, living at home? Yeah.
Oh, dude, he was driving. So we met because I had a Nissan 350Z, so did he. So we used to like street race or whatever. Nice. He had a Honda S2000. He had a Type S, a Type R. He had a 750 Li. He had an Alpina B7, which is a 760 Li. He had an S550, and Tahoe. I mean, he had everything, bro. Like literally, he had like a line of cars, and he was only 19. So that's when I was like, I'm not gonna go do this college thing. Like, he just showed me proof. And by the way, about a year into meeting him, I realized he didn't also have a green card. He didn't have papers. Yeah, he didn't have papers. So wow. Yeah. So then I was like, dude, if he can do it, then I can definitely do it. So I thought that the best way for me to get into some sort of wealth was real estate. Because when I was gonna move into my aunt's house a couple years before that, I would go down there every summer to hang out with my old friends because I hated Utah because I felt out of place. Like I was the only Mexican, and everyone in LA is, you know, it's diverse. So I felt back at home. So every summer I would go hang out with my friends that I grew up with. And so when my aunt was looking for new houses because she was a real estate investor, I would go with. And so I remember the realtors picking us up in like BMWs and taking us around and kissing my aunt's ass to try to sell her a house. You know, I'm like, damn, like these realtors probably make good money. I think they're rich. I want to be rich. So I got that in my head. So then real estate, and then I saw my friend making all this money in sales. So I'm like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? Well, in 2009, in 2008 and 2009, we had the real estate crash.
Right.
So I thought my aunt was doing perfect. Like I thought she was just balling out of control. She had all these properties. She didn't have any kids. She had a full-time job making good money. My uncle was making good money. And so they really didn't have much expenses besides the homes. And then one day around 6 a.m, a sheriff comes knocking at the door. So when I opened the door, he hands me a pink slip. And as soon as I grab the pink slip, he says, you have 15 minutes to get out this house.
Whoa.
My uncle and my aunt are working, and so they can't come to the rescue. Here's the thing. I had a suspended license. My engine was blown. The car didn't have any registration anyway. I hadn't showered. And so they gave me 15 minutes. I had no money. I didn't have a job, and I had like $20,000 in debt from speeding tickets. So when they kicked me out, like, bro, I was at the bottom of the bottom. And my aunt and my uncle couldn't help me because they were at the bottom of the bottom. They had lost, we got evicted from her property. And I didn't know that she had been losing all her properties all that year. Mm-hmm. And so we had nowhere to go. And that's when I realized, yo, my parents, my mom can't take care of me. She's trying to keep a roof over her head and make sure that my siblings are okay. I know if I go home, she'll take care of me, but I don't want to give that burden to my mom. My dad's gone in Mexico. He left. My uncle, my aunt were my other like lifeline, and they're both sank. So the only thing I have is a shell of a Nissan 350Z in front of the house on the street, and that's the only thing I had. I had nothing else. So it's like, where do we go? What do I do? Do I go back home and try to get a job? Do I figure out the school thing? I can't afford school. Like I messed up all my high school by dropping out. I can't afford it. It's out of state tuition. I don't even know what I want to do. And I don't know who's going to support me. I feel like someone needed to support me. Now as that I'm older, I'm like, if you really want something, you're going to get it done. But when you're 19 years old and you feel like you don't have anyone to kind of back you, and you have a victim mentality, it's like, and you're used to your parents taking care, like Mexican families, bro, that's the one thing, like they're always going to take care of them, like of each other. Like worst case scenario, now I know this as being older, but if my uncle, my aunt literally had nowhere to go, they could have just come to one of my uncle's houses, then they could have lived with us until they got back on their feet. That's something that we do as family members, right? Mm-hmm. But none of that was going through my head. I literally felt like I was alone. My aunt found us a little room to stay at. So we stayed there for about 6 months. We were renting out literally 2 rooms and a bathroom, and we could use the kitchen, but that was about it. And one day she's like, hey, I can't keep giving you money. I don't have any money. You need to go find a real job. And why don't you call this phone number? I'm not interested in doing insurance, investments, nothing, no real estate. I'm up to here with it. I just want to be left alone. Let me work, make a little bit of money, trying to get out of debt. She's like, but you never shut the hell up, so you might make some money. So I'm like, talking money. I don't know what it is, but I'm in. Bro, it could have been Amway. It could have been Herbalife. It could have been Mary Kay. It could have been Royal Prestige. It could have been Tupperware. It could have been Avon. It could have been anything, bro. I was trying to get out the hood, and I didn't want to be poor anymore.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I didn't have I'm too good for that, like mentality. I wanted an opportunity, bro. And so sure enough, I got invited to this company overview. I'm sure a lot of your followers know some of the guys that I work with personally. I don't want to say names because I don't know who's going to watch this, but a pretty famous guy, you know, on YouTube or whatever. He had just opened his brokerage, and he was doing the company overview, and he talked about, you know, how families like mine were able to protect their money and grow it, and how much money they were making by helping families protect money and grow it. And that kind of lit a fire in me, because I'm like, holy crap, you mean to tell me that my family didn't have to lose money? My family didn't have to lose money in the stock market and their 401k. If they would have understood how money worked, they probably could have saved their homes. Like, but yet no one that understands that world wants to talk to my family because they're poor. So it pissed me off. I understood why the rich got richer and the poor stayed poorer. Sometimes it's not even what you know, it's who you know. Like, so anyway, so that kind of got me in this journey, bro, where it went from like wanting a career to I found something that I really had a passion for, because I didn't need convincing. I lived through it indirectly. I was lucky enough. I was unlucky that it happened to me, that I got evicted and all that while my aunt was at work. But I was lucky enough that it didn't happen to me directly. It happened to my aunt, and I bear witness to how it feels to be treated like crap. And when you're like a nothing, and you lose, and you have nothing. And so the only thing that I can see was how to figure out how to get out. And that was it, man. And so since 19 till now, you know, 13 years later, I've been on a mission to help as many people as possible that really want a shot to have it. Because if I was able to figure out how to get out, bro, like, I mean, the easiest thing is to have someone teach you how to get out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that's a long story, but
no, it's phenomenal. And you know, just to kind of recap some of that, because there's a lot of jewels. I always like to pull out like the gems. You know, you said, look, you know, there were times where you could have, you know, just gone back to the family saying, you know what, whatever, I'm going to get some job. You know, there were even times where, you know, you got to get out. You got to leave the place in 15 minutes. You know, you're trying to figure out like what to do. You know, so there's a certain mindset that when something that traumatic happens, they're shutting down. Like, you know, it's over. But for you, it was almost like it was putting this chip on your shoulder. Like, look, man, no, whatever. I'm going to make this thing happen. And it seems that, and that's like a common thread amongst, you know, just highly productive people. So no, I think it's phenomenal, man. And for anyone who is hearing your story, whether they're hearing it on TikTok right now or they hear it in the future on the platform, there's no excuses. There's no excuses after you hear Rafael Preciado tell what he tells about, you know, his journey. You either need to just, you know, show up or just shut up.